Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Reliving the Extreme. The Maxim Brothers here with you. I'm Nate, that's Aaron.
What's up at Puppet?
And we are awaiting Chad Austin. I don't know if he's having some connection issues or what's going on. So if Chad makes it in tonight, we will gladly get him into the show. But we wanted to get started because some shit happened last week and we didn't get to do a show last week. So I did not want to miss doing a show for a second week in a row.
So just clarify, if you guys don't know what What's Up at Puppet is, it's one of the greatest things WWE ever did. And it's one of the most unknown things they ever did. And it was Road Dogg and Todd Grisham watching shitty WWF or WWE stuff. I can't remember what they called it. They had like Puppet H and all that shit. I don't even know if it's still around.
I don't remember what the show was called. But yeah, it was on WWE.com when they were doing a lot of like WWE.com, or was it the YouTube page? But anyway,
YouTube page.
JBL was involved in that too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Or was that a different? Yeah. I don't remember. They had a few different kind of shows going on. Because I think the internet craze was when they did the whole Tim White suicide thing too.
Yeah,
when they were having their shows on the. Yeah.
Yeah, he was interviewing Josh Matthews, and Tim White killed himself every week. Yeah, that's good shit. But anyway, I don't know what made me think of What's Up at Puppet, but it's one of my favorite lines. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about ECW Hardcore TV from March 4th, 1997, which is one day after my birthday. I don't know how old I was. One day after your 97.
You would have been, you're born in 83, so you would have just turned 14 years old.
I was 14 years old. Imagine a 14-year-old Aaron seeing ECW. I was like, God damn.
Wow!
Yeah.
All right, so that's it. It's Hardcore TV, March the 4th, 1997. They recapped the stuff because they left us on that cliffhanger last week with Raven... like Tommy Dreamer, like we talked about last week, like Tommy Dreamer would actually take this deal, but it's Raven and Brian Lee versus Tommy Dreamer and Terry Funk, and Raven says that he'll lay down and finally let Tommy Dreamer beat him at something if he will forfeit Terry Funk's opportunity to be the champion. Pretty much.
I don't like this idea.
I don't mind the aspect of if Funk pins Raven, he gets the title shot.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I don't like the pre-match angle. It's stupid.
Well, I mean, it goes in through the match too. Like basically, I don't know if they're gonna change things up, but from it like the storytelling is kind of confusing to me. Because I feel like Terry Funk's getting the title shot, but or whoever pinned, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like, all I know is if Tommy pins Raven, Terry Funk doesn't get a title shot. And
right.
I don't know. It's stupid.
Because the stipulation of the match was if Terry Funk can pin Raven, then he gets the title shot, which from a logical standpoint, then why would Raven ever tag in? Because it doesn't say if Funk wins the match. So if Raven would just never tag in and let Brian Lee wrestle the whole match, of course it's an ECW tag match, so there really aren't tags anyway. This is also convoluted.
This is one point where you actually wanted Paul to show up and explain it. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, that's the thing we talk about every once in a while as we've gone through all these shows. Every once in a while, Paulie just really, really overbooks something.
Yeah.
Like, wow,
this is really overbooked.
There's so much more to this than there needs to be. Like,
yeah.
But of course, Tommy Dreamer refuses to just let Raven lay down and get pinned. So we have a tag team match. It is, like I said, it's Tommy Dreamer and Terry Funk against Raven and Brian Lee. And the match, the meat of the match is mostly just an ECW style tag team match. I don't know if there were any spots that stood out to you that you wanted to talk about, Aaron. I know Raven gets juice pretty quick. I liked the spot where Terry Funk was beating on Raven's bloody stump of a head with a microphone, and I actually thought that because sometimes as wrestling fans, especially nowadays, 30 years later, we take an aluminum trash can for granted. It's almost like an aluminum trash can and a table at this point are just like an elbow drop or a knee drop. But man, there's a part where fucking Brian Lee fucking wears out Tommy Dreamer and Terry Funk with that trash can. Like those were the spots other than the finish stuff that stuck out to me during this one.
The first time he brings it in is when Raven almost taps out to the Funk spinning toe hold, and the private bulldozer uses the trash can to stop it. And like you said, after that, he's just repeatedly bashing him with it. And I liked the fact that they had Terry not just like it would have been easy to be like, oh, he's bleeding from his head profusely, like they did the ear, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it sold it as like his equilibrium was fucked up and he's loopy, and like I liked that part of it. Where it's like this guy hit him so hard he's not bleeding from the head. He hit him in the head so hard he's bleeding from his ear.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, like you said, it's classic Terry Funk psychology, you know. He's one of those guys that bleeds from funny places. Like Terry Funk on a regular basis will bleed from somewhere wrestlers don't normally bleed from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've seen it a number of times. And in classic Terry Funk fashion, he won't stay down, but he's and nobody does a good fucking wobbly. My equilibrium's off better than Terry Funk because I don't know. It's almost like he's like an elastic man when he's doing like a rope-a-dope thing, or so. It's almost like his limbs are longer than they were like 2 seconds ago. And I mean, he's so fucking good.
Yeah. And then Dreamer and they say the medical doctor, but it's the foot doctor. It's Raven's friend, the podiatrist.
Dr.
They
Dan
come
Green.
out.
Yeah,
they come out and they're trying to get Terry out of the ring, and Funk keeps trying to get back into the ring like he's a 45-year-old woman that got kicked out of an Applebee's bar. Like he keeps trying to fight back, and people are holding him back, and she wants her jalapeno poppers, and
I paid for those jalapeno poppers.
And Bahama Mama.
Yeah, man, this is the second time. Once like 2 days ago, when I was out with my wife, we were out doing things, and something she said or something she did made me think of it. And now you just made me think of it. One of my favorite lines in a stand-up comedy of all time. Mr. White, we're charging you with drunk in public. I was drunk in a bar, and they threw me into public.
I was drunk in private, man.
I was drunk in a bar. They threw me into private. I love that fucking joke.
Yeah, good joke.
Anyway. But yeah, they're trying to get Terry to stay on a stretcher so they can stretch him out of the ring, and he won't stay on the stretcher. So the Terry Funk dramatics at the end of this are all very good. It's Terry Funk. Of course it's good. Yeah. But like Aaron was alluding to, the meat of the matter and the meat of the match was, some of it was overbooked and a bit convoluted. Why not just say, if Dreamer and Funk can beat Raven and Brian Lee, then Terry Funk can have his title shot? Why does it have to be a match within a match within a match with a stipulation on top of a stipulation
that wasn't going to have an ending anyway? Because there's no decision made to this match, because they They haul Terry Funk out, and it's a no contest. And then Stevie comes out, but he gets beat up by Brian. Yeah, gets beat up by Brian Lee. And then Blue Peaches comes out.
Yes,
but
Lori Fullington and Tyler Fullington come out. And
Peaches
Lori
gets Nope, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say Lori confronts Raven, and Raven DDTs her.
Yeah, Bruce Peaches.
This was on our other show, the We Can't Wrestle podcast. We've been doing a series about the Clash of the Champions, and we've just gotten to where Ole Anderson has come in as the booker of WCW. So he's putting the kibosh on all the stuff the previous bookers were doing. This almost felt like like Ole Anderson came in to put the kibosh on all this Sandman family stuff, because it was like it came to a very abrupt ending here. Like, it is time to end this shit.
Yes, and Peaches becomes what Stu Hart fed his family: distressed produce, and she gets DDT'd. And then Sandboy brings out Tommy Dreamer, and he gets taken out. And Sandboy disappears again, and now Sandboy brings out his dad, the Sandman, and it goes back and forth, and Sandman ends up I can't remember what he gets on Raven, but for some reason it ends with Sandman pinning Raven. Like, the referee made the count. I don't know if it was just whatever, but I don't know if they considered it an official match or whatever, but somehow Sandman ends up pinning Raven.
So this is one of those things where sometimes when I'm watching a show, if I get distracted or if I'm writing some notes down, sometimes, I don't know why, but sometimes if I'm writing notes down, that's why I don't think I could ever be like a wrestling newsletter, like live correspondent or anything, because sometimes when I'm writing notes, my brain stops paying attention to what's on the TV. And it's paying attention to me writing my note. But anyway, that's why I wrote down here, ask Aaron and Chad, did they ever say anything about the Sandman and Raven starting a match? Because I was like, why was there a pinfall and why did the bell ring?
I have no idea. But Raven somehow ends up Sandman somehow ends up pinning Raven. And then Raven takes Sandboy out of the ring, holds him up to the crowd, and rips his BWO shirt off. And Sandboy
has reclaimed his son.
Yes.
So
the only person that really popped for Sandboy getting his shirt ripped off was Rob Feinstein. He liked that.
I sometimes have to plead ignorance on things. There's little things sometimes that I forget or I don't remember, or I didn't fucking care or didn't pay attention. And most wrestlers, or let's say 72% of wrestlers, even if they don't make it, 72% of pro wrestlers' kids try their hand at least at pro wrestling. It's kind of one of those things that is at times kind of a family business. So I did not know if Tyler Fullington ever attempted wrestling.
I don't think he did.
He did. I looked it up.
Okay.
On Cage Match. Apparently, in 2008/2009, they must have did a thing where he like turned on his dad or something, because he called himself Twisted Sand, and he wrestled a match in August of 2008 where he beat a guy named Kevin James, and then he wrestled he wrestled his dad on September 26, 2009. It says the Sandman versus Twisted Sand to a no contest, and then he came back in 2014, teamed with the Sandman to defeat Pete Lombardo and Riley. And then in his last match on June 14th, 2014, in the 2300 arena, Tyler Fullington defeated a guy named Shaheem Ali. So Tyler Fullington has actually had technically 4 professional wrestling matches that I didn't know ever happened. But I don't know. I was watching the kid and I was like, I don't know if that wrestling kid ever tried his hand at it, but apparently he did.
Sandboy apparently did. So good for him.
He was a twisted Sandboy.
Yes.
However, now the 2 people that are left in the ring after all the dust settles, after all the chaos of this probably 15 to 20 minutes of just boom, 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 boom shit going on, are Tommy Dreamer and Stevie Richards, and they shake hands to end this segment.
Yes, and they have a little standoff, and they've buried the hatchet, basically, is the way storytelling goes. It's like Tommy obviously is now wholeheartedly believing that Stevie is no longer associated or a goon for Raven, so he's not gonna be skeptical of him or whatever. So it was all right. I'm not saying the segment and the boom 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 wasn't fun, but some of it didn't make any sense.
No, I enjoyed. Like I said, I enjoyed everything except like we were talking about this. The match itself felt overbooked, but everything else perfect. I mean, it was you're moving stories along.
They're setting up the 3-way, so it's good.
They show us a video on the Sabu Taz rivalry, and when we come back, very entertaining shit coming up here. Yes. We have Chris Chetty in the ring. He's going to have a match with Little Guido, and of course, accompanying Little Guido to the ring is Tommy Rich. And Tommy Rich says his granddad was in the mafia. My granddad. What's that?
He had to escape because they were gonna whack him. So he had to move. He went down to Georgia and Atlanta, and that's how he was born. And turns out that Tommy Rich is a full-blooded Italian.
I'm a full-blooded Italian. As he's dressed like a hairband member. And people can say what they want about this shit. I love fucking Tommy Rich and Tracy Smothers and the FBI. We're gonna get to Tracy at a certain point, but I love it. I love Tracy Smothers. I love the Godfather Tommy Rich and all this shit. This is entertaining.
The FBI was a great fucking gimmick, and both of the major companies try to do their own version of it. Like Russo tried to do it with the Mamalukes, and it didn't work because he didn't understand it. It's like, well, you're doing the Mamalukes, but they're all actually Italian.
Yes.
And then Vince did it with he brought the FBI to WWE. And it's like they were all talented guys, but it's like it's not. You guys
they missed the point. They missed. Yeah, you don't know.
Point.
Yeah,
like yeah.
It's called the full-blooded Italians because only one of them is a full-blooded Italian.
Full-blooded Italian, yeah. Like the Mamalukes would have worked if it would have been like Johnny Stamboli, Norman Smiley, and I don't know, Ralphus. like okay, yeah, I get that. That's funny, but yeah, it doesn't work. Nobody else. Everybody tried to recreate. The 2 companies tried to recreate it. It's like you guys don't know why it was funny.
Yeah, when Vince Russo did it, it came off as a terrible, like everything Vince Russo does. I was having a conversation with a friend today, a friend of me and Aaron's, Chris Wood. We were talking today, and I am hands down, positively, absolutely on board with the fact that the absolute worst booker of pro wrestling in history is Vince Russo. I I subscribed to TNA Plus. Okay, I know you have a subscription
Still do.
too. I am watching TNA from the very beginning because there's a lot of
Actually, doing the
TNA.
same thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah,
TNA throughout the years that I've checked in and checked out. There've been like periods where I watched it for a year, and then periods where I didn't even watch it for 2 years. And so I figured, you know what? I'll just go on this trek through the whole history of TNA. What the fuck?
I'm doing the
And I
same
am
thing.
into the late 2002, early 2003 SEX. It's like
Yeah, it's a train wreck.
it's fucking awful. And of course, WCW in the year 2000, whoever watches that, I don't even watch that to laugh because it's so bad. It's not even funny. Anyway, I didn't want to make this. I don't know even why I got on Vince Russo. He's so bad. Oh, the FBI. He booked it like a shitty movie, like he books everything. Like he wrote a shitty movie or a shitty TV show. And then the WWE just, like you said, it's just a bunch of Italians.
It was a T-shirt.
Yeah, it was good call. It was a T-shirt. But the match we have here is Little Guido, Chris Chetti. They have a good back and forth little match. And in the end, Tommy Rich, Guido goes to the second turnbuckle to do a move, and Tommy Rich said, go to the top, go to the top. And because Guido goes to the top, it gives Chetti the opportunity to kind of get, get an upset victory over Guido. And Guido's upset, obviously. He's kind of bitching at Rich. And then Tommy Rich cracked me the fuck up because he kept saying, we're paisans. We're paisans. And he knew it. He knew that saying that in the most southern drawl he could possibly say it, and it was fucking hilarious. We're paisans.
And yeah, paisans and saying Italian, like an actual Italian person, nothing makes them. Well, I shouldn't say nothing makes them more mad, because there's plenty of things that make them mad. But if you call an Italian person Italian, oh my goodness, I hate that.
But yeah, I enjoyed this segment also.
Yeah, it was fun.
Up next, we get another Brian Lee offering his services. Show me the money. At least this time he wasn't in the men's room.
Money. Nope. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Brian Lee sucks. He needs to go away.
And then we get Raven. We're just shooting through this episode this week. It's just I don't know. It's and that's fine. Every episode doesn't have to take an hour, but we're shooting through it this week. There's just we're kind of like the opening segment of the show.
Boom, 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 boom. That's how it is.
Raven is in the locker room, sitting on the floor like Raven does, cutting a promo. And then you hear Terry Funk and see his feet. Stand up, damn you. I had to write it down. He's like, you petulant.
Yeah, he said, like, Raven's basically calling Terry Funk an old man, and you remind me of my father, and I hate my father, and you're an old piece of shit. And he's saying all this stuff about him. And I like this because it's kind of reminiscent of a couple years ago. Again, like, I think it was like 94 or whatever, where Paulie made fun of Terry's family or his daughters. Remember that? Like, he said something about him being fat or stupid or something. And he walked up and smacked him and said, "You talk about my family again, I'll beat the ever-loving shit out of you," or whatever he said to him, And Paulie was like,
"Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'll never say it again," And obviously Raven wasn't gonna pussy out of it because he's the fucking champ and he's a wrestler. You know, it made sense for Paul to pussy out because that's his character.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the fact that, like, if it's real, you know, and these guys are cutting promos, there's a distinct possibility that the guy somebody's cutting a promo on might walk by and hear what he's saying. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And why would that guy just be like, "Oh, okay, well he's cutting a promo on me"? And
I'm gonna
Terry
let
Funk's character's like,
I'm gonna let Raven cut his promo.
yeah, Terry Funk's character's like, you know what? Fuck this guy. And it worked because Raven didn't get up, you know. But what I did like was when Terry Funk's talking shit to him, and he's like, "Get up, you son of a bitch!" And he's like, "Talk to me like a man. Get in my face. Say what you were gonna." Like Raven's just looking at him, you know. Like Raven
Mm-hmm.
wasn't talking shit back. And
My
I don't know. It's like Terry Funk's verbal tirade without seeing him, just seeing his legs, and it's just watching Raven react to his words without seeing Terry Funk meant even more, like, looked even cooler or was even a better visual than if they were like face to face. Because Raven's character was like, "You're an old man, you suck. I don't want anything to do with you. You remind me of my dad. You're a piece of shit." And just like him refusing to stand up and look him in the face, it was like, I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, but I'm like, this was
well,
a cool segment.
I'll
And
give my
then
thoughts
him
on.
talking
Oh,
about, I was just saying, like, Terry Funk talk. I can't remember everything he said because I obviously didn't write the promo down, but talking about something being in this person being an idiot or that person being an idiot. And, oh yeah, it was his dad. He was like, "Your dad, he beat you. He was an idiot. Your mom was
it's
a
yeah.
half
He's not.
idiot.
He's like
And
it's
now
not
you're
my
a
fault.
full bred idiot."
It's not my fault your daddy was an idiot that beat you up, and not my fault that your mama was an idiot that drank too much, and not
Well,
my fault that these idiots made you an idiot.
you're a full. He said, "You're a full bred idiot." I like that. But anyway,
So my thoughts on it. Tell me if you see where I'm coming from. The reason I thought it was cool was there was the rebellious doesn't want to listen to his elder. I know Raven's a grown man, but almost like the teenager, like the
yeah,
angsty teenager and his quote unquote dad or the authority figure. And I think that's one of the juxtapositions of not seeing Funk too, because it's like that's how it feels when you're an angsty teenager. It feels like that
yeah.
authority figure is like trying to be high. I don't know. There, maybe I was reading into the psychology of it too much, but then I also
No,
thought
no,
it was cool. I also thought it was cool that in the end, Raven's character was able to bring Terry Funk down to his level
yeah.
because
Terry
Terry
got on
Funk
his
comes
level.
down to him like this little son of a bitch is not going to stand. Like he got to
I'm
Terry
gonna
Funk.
get in his motherfucking face. And Raven had like the look on his face where he was not like, afraid, but was kind of like, I don't know. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. Where it's
As
like
did I.
Raven, like Raven didn't kowtow to him, but Raven knew he couldn't if he's like, how would I say it, like he didn't bitch off, he didn't pussy off from him or whatever. But it's like almost like if Raven knew he said something, he was gonna get smacked. So fuck it.
Yeah.
If I'm just gonna shut up, you know, type of thing.
Yeah, like I said, like you said, I totally enjoyed this segment. Anytime these two guys interact, it's great shit.
Yeah.
So the next thing we have on the show is we come into a match between Spike Dudley and Axel Rotten. Um, and they don't show us too much of the match. Spike hits the fuck, what does he
Acid
call that
drop.
hold? Anyway, the bulldog. Yes, the acid drop on Axel Rotten, and then his brothers Bubba and Devon come out and spoil the match, cost Spike the match against Axel. They start a beat down on little Spike Dudley. I like the fact that, like, Bubba decided to turn heel and go with Devon. But it's like, well, like that's the, turning heel is turning heel. But it's like, man, and they just decided, fuck our other brother. We hate him. We're just gonna keep beating him up. There's no logical reason why they just start beating up Spike other than
he's a little shit. He's a little retarded one. Let's beat him up.
But they start beating down, of course, Spike Dudley. And then the music hits and the gangsters hit the ring. There's a bunch of brawling all over the arena, of course, because that's the way this has to go. And then I put, excuse me, this was maybe one of New Jack's most impressive off the Eagles' nests I've ever seen, because he fucking like it almost felt like he flung himself halfway across that fucking arena. Like he jumped really far on that one. Like it wasn't like the ones where they're right under it and he just drops through the tables or whatever. Like he jumped out.
And it's one of his very first ones. Did you notice that he had to push that little fat kid out of the way?
Yeah.
The fat kid got in the way. He pie faced that fucking fat kid. And then, like you said, he fucking flung himself. And this is probably one of like the first ones, so he still got it. And it's like, after you do that, 20 times? Now you got to be like, dude, I just need you to.
Yeah, I just need you guys to be right there.
I need to be really close, right close. I just need to drop.
But yeah, it was definitely an impressive visual. It was one of those things that that's one of the things that you can do in that ECW arena that it looks, coming off the Eagles' Nest looks perfect, if somebody does it right. It's just the way that arena is set, and that wall that's right there, that wall where there's no audience or anything, so it's just capturing the wrestler flying across the fucking air, and I don't know, perfect. Yeah. Just a perfect visual for ECW. At one point, I put down Axl Rose. Axl Rose is here. Oh my god.
He looks like the fat lady from Goonies. Or throw Mama from the train.
Owen.
Isn't that the same lady? I think.
Yes, it is.
And real quick, fuck, this is stupid. I don't know what made me think of this movie today. And it might have been because somebody said something about Lincoln at work. When I say, well, Lincoln did it, what movie do you think of? Well, Lincoln did it.
You said little. I don't know.
The Super. Do you remember that movie with Joe Pesci, where he's Joe the Pesci? Super? Yeah, Joe Pesci, where he's the.
I haven't seen or thought about that movie in fucking years.
Me neither. And then somebody said something about Lincoln. I don't know what it was, and then I thought about where the power went out, and he told that lady was like, so that grandma was like, so my son's supposed to do his math homework by candlelight, and he's like, Lincoln did it, and then he has to move into his building, and his toilet goes out, and he's like, he's just got a shit in a bucket, and he tries to go to that same lady's apartment, and he's like, can I use your restroom? She's like, no. And he goes, you expect me to shit in a bucket? And she's like, Lincoln did it. Like, yeah. Yeah, The Super was a fucking funny movie, man. But anyway, totally fucking random. But go ahead.
Yeah, I have not. Like I said, I haven't even thought about that movie
It's a
in
very
ages.
fucking super underrated movie.
It was one of those movies they
This
used
is
to
the
play a
only
lot.
wrestling pot. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say it was one of those movies they used to play a lot on like Saturday afternoons on Comedy Central back when we were
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
Even back when it was like the Ha Network. It was like,
Yeah.
The Super's on. This is the only wrestling podcast you're ever gonna hear about. Joe Pesci's The Super.
Yeah. All right. Let me see. We're about to the end here.
Yes.
I don't know. Did you have any other notes on the match itself
Nope.
that became obviously a 6-man or something? This is the funny thing about this show is it's a good show, but none of the actual match structure makes any fucking sense. Like people are just wrestling whoever the fuck they want to wrestle.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
But in the end of this match, Axel Rotten distracts New Jack. Bubba hits a pretty cool looking Bubba cutter to get the win. The Dudleys, I believe it turned into a 6-man, so I just wrote down, I think the Dudleys and Axel beat the Gangstas and Spike. I'm pretty sure that's the actual result.
Yeah, Bubba hits his Bubba cutter on New Jack and pins him. It sucked. Well, not sucked, but you know what I mean. It was like the same thing where it's like this
What is
match
going
just
on?
happened. Yeah. Like the only reason there's a 1, 2, 3 is because that's what's supposed to happen in wrestling.
Yeah. Overall, this episode of ECW Hardcore TV, I gave it a B, just a B, like no B minus, no B plus, just a B because the matches themselves happened and didn't happen, and that was kind of wild and wacky, and that was confusing. But the story parts, especially with Raven and Terry Funk, and then ending the Raven Sandman's family saga, the intrigue with Stevie Richards and Tommy Dreamer, all that was cool. So that gave the action in the New Jack or in the Gangstas thing was fine. And then, of course, the Funk and Raven promos, the Funk and Raven promo together was really good shit. So I overall gave this episode of the show a B.
I gave it a little less. I gave it like a C. It was just, I don't know. It didn't really do anything for him. Nothing really, I don't want to say nothing really happened, but nothing really.
Well, you're not exactly wrong.
happened.
Nothing other than the drama with Raven and Funk. And then, like I said, putting the end to Sandman and Raven's family drama. Everything else is pretty much just still treading water. You know, we didn't see Sabu or Raven, or Sabu or Taz. We just saw a video about Sabu and Taz. I know everybody can't be on every week. I get it. It's only an hour show. But, yeah, it was stoking some intrigue heading into the pay-per-view. We're almost to Barely Legal. It'll be the 200th episode of Reliving the Extreme. And again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think right around the first pay-per-view is not that everything after it is stinky or anything, or not that it gets really, really bad, but I think that we're coming up to the point where, as a promotion, this promotion peaks for me. Again, we're still going to have great shit with Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam, and there's all kind of stuff coming up, but Barely Legal is like, because ECW, we'll talk about it when we talk about Barely Legal. I don't want to get in the weeds, but.
All right. But yeah, like you said, it was, we're a little indifferent, or not indifferent, but we're a little different on the show, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was just kind of there, in my opinion.
That being said, we will sign off here tonight for the Reliving the Extreme podcast. Join us on Facebook at the WNR Podcast Network in our Facebook group. There's also just a page where I post the episodes of the We Can't Wrestle podcast and the Reliving the Extreme. You can join us on YouTube at the WNR Podcast Network if that's where you enjoy listening or watching your podcasts. And you can always email us at relivingtheextreme@gmail.com with any questions, comments, concerns. And that's that. That's how you can get a hold of us. That's how you can follow us on the socials, because I don't really do much more than I'm not a social media junkie, so I don't do the Twitter. I don't do the fucking Instagram. I don't. Yeah, my jam's pretty much Facebook, and that's it. That's that's where I peaked, and that's where I'll stay.
Because we're old.
No. Yeah, and I know from a business standpoint, as a podcaster, I probably should have a TikTok or something, but unless I absolutely get pushed in that direction, I don't see it happening, folks.
Right. I can't TikTok. I don't know how to dance.
I've never even had TikTok on my phone. I always joke with people, like younger people that I work with and stuff, that'll do shit on TikTok, and I'm like, I've never ticked nor talked. I have no idea how to do any of that shit, and I never will.
People are like, do you like TikTok? Be like, I don't like 14-year-old girls. That's what that thing was at first. It was 14-year-old girls dancing to Katy Perry. It's like, I'm not into that.
Wasn't it called Vines at one? I don't know. Anyway.
Vines was cool. Vines was like the last thing that I was into, but anyway.
All right. That's enough. Let's wrap it up. Reliving the Extreme. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week as we continue rolling toward Barely Legal and our 200th episode. Have a great week, everybody.